Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Carol Moulton coming to you once again with Tea Time with Carol. I hope life has been treating you well. I hope things are good, or at least manageable in your corner of the universe. But come on in, come on in. I have fluffed up the pillows. I am pouring the tea, a little citrus lemonade tea today that I'm pouring. Come on in, get you a nice warm cup. Maybe have a cookie or something along with it. And I'm not going to talk long, but this is History Month. And so I thought it would be good to talk for a little bit about someone that you may not be aware of. I love discovering information about, I guess we call them hidden figures, women, particularly women, who made significant contributions to society, but their accomplishments have sort of, not gotten the kind of notoriety or notice that we would like for them to have. And I'm talking in particular about black women. Certainly there are other women who have made contributions, but I just find that the contributions of black women in particular are very frequently overlooked. So we're going to be talking about one of them today, and she's someone that I just happened to discover recently and am just completely fascinated by her. So come on in, get comfy. We're just going to talk for a little bit about this wonderful woman that I have discovered. So without further ado, got your tea, got your pillow, come on in, get comfy. So her name is Mamie Phipps Clark. She was born in 1917 in Arkansas. Her dad was a physician. Her mom was a homemaker who helped out, and she probably did a lot of work also behind the scenes with the dad's medical practice. So Mamie discovered that she also wanted to help people. She graduated from high school at like 16 and wasn't able to go to any of the colleges the colleges were still segregated. So she ended up getting a scholarship to Howard, go Bisons, and went to Howard intending to study math and physics. The professors that she encountered were not encouraging, and while she was there, she met who would become her husband, Kenneth Clark, who was in the psychology department. And he said, "Oh, forget those guys over there. Come study psychology. Because it's fascinating. I think you'd like it. Whatever." And so she switched over to psychology. She ended up graduating from Howard, and she went to work as a legal secretary for a bit in the law office of Charles Hamilton Houston, where she met Thurgood Marshall, and that will be significant a little bit later. Anyway, Kenneth decided to go to New York to continue his studies, and she ended up going there as well, where she studied for a master's and a PhD. So they both ended up with PhDs. And she started this research with children, where she was really interested in figuring out when did children become aware of their racial identity. And she started with little kids they were like 3, 4, 5 years old, and discovered that even at the age of 3, children were aware of their racial identity. And she conducted tests with black children, white children, north, south, all of that, And then she did a bigger study later on that used dolls, and that becomes significant later also. Well, anyway, Mamie does really, really well. And one of her professors who was actually very, very racist, and she had decided that she was up for a challenge, so she did not avoid people that she knew was racist. She decided to study under them in any way, and I understand her reasoning. With that, I do understand. So sometimes, well, how do I put this? I may have shared, this is like a little segue here. I'm just, sidebar note. I may have shared with you that I have, a couple of months ago, started a PhD program. And one of the things I've had to do a number of research papers, along the way. And the last course that I took was, it was a whole 8 weeks of research. And I decided to spend those 8 weeks studying alt-right groups, the hate groups. And so sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone and study things that aren't immediately, comfortable or easy or obvious, I guess. And so I spent 8 weeks studying these hate groups and found it really, really, really interesting. I ended up really feeling sorry for them in a way. If you get past the rhetoric, these are people who are really feeling displaced and lost, and I get it. I get it, and I would have some solutions for them, but they haven't asked me anything yet. But anyway, I digress. Back to Mamie. So this racist professor went to her and said, "There's a conference coming up. Your research is really interesting. I'd like to present it." And she knew that, that meant he was going to be taking credit for her research. So she and her husband hurried up and published the research under her husband's name. And that becomes significant also later on. So anyway, during this time, the NAACP started getting their research together to start challenging segregation in schools. During this time, so we're talking about late 40s, early 50s, 1950s, okay? And it's not that long ago if you think about it. They started getting started preparing, and so it came to their attention the work that Kenneth and Mamie were doing with respect to racial identity effects of segregation on children. And so they decided that Kenneth would be the one to actually be the face of everything, but it was actually Mamie's research, that was actually the whole foundation of everything. So the case ended up being, you all know, Brown versus Board of Education. That was the seminal case that changed the face of public education in the United States. And what you may not know is how important Mamie Phipps Clark's research was in that case. Kenneth presented the evidence in that case. He was the face of the testimony, but and it was quoted. The research was quoted in the Brown finding. So the court relied very much on her research and her findings in making the decision that that the segregation separate was not equal. It's basically the bottom line of it. Separate, that's a fallacy. So Mamie went on and continued her work After that, she didn't stop there, and she was very active in New York, charity work and foundations. She sat on a number of different boards. And now this, I did not know this until doing this research. She got a loan from her dad, $948, and she started a center for children, mental health for children in New York called Northside Center for Child Development, which is still going on today. Very, very active, very, very well known center in New York. And they do a lot of really, really good work in New York. And in the interest of full disclosure, I do a little bit of work with them on the diversity and inclusion end of things. But I didn't know the connection until I was, doing this research. So anyway, I'm saying, so Mamie went on. Unfortunately, she died young. She died in, I forgot the year, but she was 65 years old when she passed. And I believe that she had, well, doesn't matter what she had, but I believe that when you're living under the amount of stress that she lived under, that all of us, if you're black in America, you're living under daily stress, and I believe that takes a toll, physically or mentally, or both. And it's important to, number one, recognize it, and number two, make a decision on how you're going to deal with it. You know, there's so much that we deal with, and it's so constant. It is so constant that you become numb to it. You see it and you don't see it. It's like just something that you have to accommodate to. And I think that's the part that white folks, even allies, don't understand. They just don't get how difficult it is to be a person of color, in this country. And it's getting more difficult when there's been a pass being given to folks to act out and speak their racist tendencies, things that may have been said in secret or kind of, joked about in private. It's now kind of okay. We're all familiar with the Karens, of the world, and we've social media has there's been no end to the videos of Karens who, stop people while shopping, stop people who are in a pool, stop people who are trying to get into their own homes, and what startles me always constantly is how you had the right to ask somebody, who deputized you and made you king of the land or queen of the land. I don't get it. I don't get it. What makes people think that they have this right? But obviously they do. And it's not just in the South. There's Central Park Karen who, and the part that's disturbing is the weaponizing, the white woman's tears, and you being used as a weapon against black men. That's disturbing. So what are we going to do about all these things? I retired a couple of years ago, but I see that work in diversity and inclusion is even more important now than ever. And for me, it means working to move the needle past the lip service that some companies are giving, to diversity and inclusion. Everywhere you look, there's, diversity being touted on every corner, but what's actually changing, and so for me, I think it's important that we start talking about toxic workplaces because you can hire all the people of color you want, all of the trans, all the gay, whatever you want, but until you change the workplace and make it a place where people are actually celebrated and where the differences are celebrated, and you get rid of some of these managers who are just so freaking obnoxious, until the workplace gets to be, until the culture changes, then, you're just putting a band-aid, over a gaping wound, and it's just not going to work. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I hope this story about Mamie Phipps Clark has interested you. She was a psychologist, a researcher. She was a mom, a wife. She and Kenneth were married for very, very many years. Um, and I hope that has given you just a little insight into someone who spent their life trying to make a change and trying to really help children, and who discovered that um, even as young as 3, 4, 5 years old, children become aware of their racial identity, and it's not always in a positive kind of way. So now that and however you can make a decision, however you choose to, that you can be um, an agent for change in your corner of the world. And if we all do a little bit on our respective corners, just think about what an impact we all can have. It's not always about being, you know, big, 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 flashy, flashy, mega, mega stars. Sometimes it's just being impactful, and that's so important, to start just where you are. I had a conversation with someone just the other day about um, it's fine to go out, and have all the answers for everybody in the universe, and everybody thinks that you're wonderful. But when you come home and you don't treat the people that you live with well, then who are you really? Who are you really? My mother and I used to have a lot of conversations about that. And I dismissed a lot of things my mother said because I thought she was old and fuddy-duddy and didn't know what she was talking about. But actually, she was very wise and very insightful on a lot of things. So my challenge to you, my beloved, is for you to look and see today, who can you be kind to today? Who can you extend a little compassion toward? Whether it's someone in your immediate family or somebody that you encounter when you're out and about. Now just think about that and become conscious of your ability to make a change in someone else's life. And you do have that capacity if you choose to. You do have that ability if you choose to. And I'm challenging you today to dig down, get out of, one of the things I think one of the bad side effects of the pandemic is to make us, draw inward, I, me, mine. Oh, the supply chain is all messed up. Oh, there's not going to be enough. Oh, I got to get mine. And that's really not true. That's a bunch of horse patootie. There's more than enough. I don't care what's going on. There's more than enough. So, challenge extended. It's up to you to accept or not. And if you do, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love if you would communicate and let me know. Send me a message and let me know how things are going or what happened. You accepted the challenge and this is what happened and this was the effect. And I'd love to hear how you've changed lives, how you've made a difference for someone that would just warm my heart to no end. So, with that, I hope I've left you with something to think about, someone to celebrate. Mamie Phipps Clark. We celebrate her life as a hidden figure this year, and I celebrate you. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Thank you for just being here and listening and being part of what we are trying to do and in changing our corner of the world. And so just know I love you. I pray for you. I'm thinking about you. And I hope all continues to be well. And just remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So until next time, be blessed. We'll talk soon. Love you. Take care. Bye-bye.